Hello everyone, good day. I hope you guys in a good condition, especially in this unprecedented crisis of COVID-19. So in these special occasions, I would like to present about brief explanation of Israel-Arab normalization, which will be explained with an overview from Islamic political perspective. Here we go. So the table of the contents will be: the first is introduction, second is geopolitical factors, the third is current situation, the fourth is critical analysis, and the last will be conclusion. And we move to the introduction. So last year, we are surprised by uh, the news that the Israel and United Arab Emirates are decided to normalize their relation, especially their diplomatic relations, and it is actually in entire of relation between two countries in terms of bilateral cooperation. So it is the peace agreement declared in August 13, 2020, which is called as Abraham Accords. So this is the visualization of the peace agreement, which is uh, the the right one is the content of the agreement, which is contain the full normalization between Israel and United Arab Emirates, which is signed by both country leader. And actually, why there is appeared the United States, because this agreement actually brokered by the United States under Donald Trump administration, and it is can be called as they are the initiator of this agreement. So actually, before this agreement has been declared, back then, the Israel and the United Arab Emirates are already uh, have a joint agreement and joint cooperation in terms of health response, especially uh, about to prevent COVID-19 transmission and how to tackle this crisis, because we know that uh, the two countries are vulnerable and it is approximate to the conflicting areas, so they should have more resilient facilities in terms of health protocol. So we move to the next one, which is geopolitical factors. We know that currently Iran and Saudi Arabia are joining the different uh, political bloc, which is United Arab Emirates are joining the bloc that already sponsored by the United States, and since the conference in Warsaw, Russia, in 2019, the United States initiated alliance named Israel Arab Alliance against Iran, which is consisting Saudi Arabia, Israel, United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. So in recent years, the countries' informal relations are already warm, and it is considerably, and they have in some extent have been have a military contact and other some hard power contact. So especially if we talking about the driving factors of the United Arab Emirates uh, that finally they decide to deal with Israel through these peace agreements, because of in terms of geopolitical factors, uh, United Emirates, uh, United Arab Emirates have some territorial dispute with Iran, and especially because after the Arab Revolution, Iran uh, began to influence the neighboring countries about their political mission, which is they use Shia as their propaganda. And actually, in terms of geopolitical status, United Arab Emirates also face some rivals such as Turkey and Qatar, which is in terms of Turkey. In several occasions, United Arab Emirates face some inconvenient matters because we know that uh, in recent years, United Arab Emirates with Qatar have a hate tension, especially in terms of the political and diplomatic crisis. And in at the time, Turkey not only give assistance to Qatar, but also they built a military base in Qatar, and they also insult the decision of United Arab Emirates as an Islamic step, especially uh, as we are also talk about the Islamic countries and according and and the relation of the United Arab Emirates with Qatar, as what already mentioned, that United Arab Emirates are joining Saudi Arabia to oppose the Qatar as they are uh, alleged as the country that support some terrorism activities, and we know that Qatar also associated with some militia group, which is in this context it is threaten the United Arab Emirates position in the region. And we know that the the Abraham Accords also signed by Bahrain and Sudan and also Morocco later on after the signation of United Arab Emirates, because most of them, especially Bahrain and Sudan, actually is not an active geopolitical actors in the region because uh, they are joining the bloc because it is simply theoretically and practically they are located in a geopolitical pivot, which means uh, whether they are like it or not, they are in the area that vulnerable of being repressed, especially in the conflicting area in the Middle East. So whether they are like it or not, they should uh, take take a position whether they have to join Saudi Arabia bloc or Iran bloc. So speaking to the Arab Israel alliance, Iran also built alliance to oppose the Saudi Arabian bloc, which is named as Axis of Resistance. So actually, it is a political alliance that initiated by Iran since the Syrian war. So, which is make the member state the member of this movement will be the Syrian government, which is represented by Bashar al-Assad, and also because there's the minimum support from the neighboring countries. Iran took initiative to recruit the militia group, and we know that some of them are known as a terrorism group, maybe such as Hezbollah as Shia organization and Iraq Shia militia, and the one of powerful group in Yemen, which is Houthi. So speaking in geopolitical factors, Iran actually aim to expand their influence, especially in the Middle East, as they are already began the mission, which is called as Shia Christian. So the mission is to search for partner or allies regardless of the different background of ideology. So in this context, in this axis of resistance, it is not necessary in line in terms of ideology. So, furthermore, as a matter of fact, the Shia uh, in uh, in regards to this context, Iran only used Shia as the representation of the projecting power. So it is also explained why Iran also allied with the Hamas movement in Palestine and the Sudanese Bashir regime as well. So it is also proof that Iran eventually showed greater interest in other regions in Central Asia, in some areas in North America, North Africa, and African Sahel. So the next is the current situation. So after the declaration of the Abraham Accords, uh, the United States, Israel, and United Arab Emirates are stated that this is the historic diplomatic breakthrough because it will be beneficiary for many countries, especially if we look at the map at the screen. The green colors show that the countries that show positive response towards the agreement. The red colors show the opposing country. The red show the neutral response, and the gray color only show that the country did not publicly show response in regards to this issue. And we know that among the other opposing country, Iran is the most vocal opposing country because they believe that this agreement only betrayal for the Muslim countries, especially to the Palestinian, because they stated that the agreement did not involve Palestinian at all in the process. However, at the beginning of the agreement, the Minister for Foreign Affairs of the United Arab Emirates stated that one of the objectives of this peace agreement was to achieve two-state solution, especially as they will be have a good diplomatic relation with Israel. They believe that they will be able to more influence Israel and push them to be more use peaceful method instead of we know that what Israel already did in recent decades to the Palestinians, especially in the West Bank. And the fact is that the agreement shows the positive result in terms of these Palestinian matters. However, Iranian government did not satisfied with the statement from the United Arab Emirates because the Iranian armed force stated that any attacks that occurred in the Middle East ever since the declaration of the Abraham Accords, they believe that the United Arab Emirates will be responsible for this occurrence because of their belief that the 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 existence of Israel in the region will only threaten the situation and uh, will harm the political stability in the area. However, some international organizations such as UN and AU show positive response to this agreement. It is came from the Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the UN, that stated that this agreement will be a pathway, especially in the peace building process for the further occasion, especially in regards to the Palestinian matters. Additionally, we have to take note that the proxy war between the Arab Saudi and Iran and Israel with Iran are already exist since the Syrian war, which is there is a huge civil war, and the proxy war are continued in Yemen war, and it is still occurred even until today. And in addition, the other issue is about that we have to take note that the Iranian government reported that they have currently developing the atomic bomb capacities in their nuclear facilities program. So with this note, we should take consideration as the Middle East are needed a balance of power, because if Iran are succeed to develop this nuclear program, this will be a huge more conflict and only threaten the political stability in the Middle East. So we move to the critical analysis. So as what I already mentioned, the the current nuclear program by the Iran government will only make incomplete balance of power, because even in Islamic world, it is needed a balance of power, because uh, what already exists in the recent decades, that conflict in the Middle East, most of them because of the ideological based uh, driving factors, and the other one is because of the competition of the control over the natural resources, especially oil resources. So this, if we look at the positive side, that this agreement might stipulates a zone of peace, as what already exists in ASEAN, because we know that if a lot of countries are gathered in one place, and they decide to put forward peace, they can uh, they can preserve more uh, time and possibility to maintain the peace. And the other one, because is the joint cooperation to tackle COVID-19 crisis that already did by the Israeli government and United Arab Emirates. That we know that if we look from the Islamic perspective, it can be a compulsory for us to cooperate with others, even though that there is no crisis at all. We are since are obligated to be well, because we know that uh, one of Islamic teaching is Islam rahmatan lil alamin, which means Islam for all. The other uh, the other considerable point is that the Palestinian issue is a core issue which began and as the consideration of the United Arab Emirates to move to the peace agreement with Israel, which is it is resulted the suspension of the annexation plan, which is already planned by the Israel government over the West Bank. However, we should still consider that several countries still express the regret of the agreement, especially it is come from the Muslim countries. So, and the last one, we move to the conclusion. So, what we can talk from, what we can view from this case, especially from the Islamic perspective, we know that in the Prophet Muhammad era, uh, he always taught us about how we should cooperate with others, especially those who are different from us in terms of religion, ethnicity, skin color, and so on and so forth. Because we know that if we also took the example of Medina Charter as first multicultural law that enable of all religion to become together in one place and live in under the justice law and in a welfare under the welfare policy. So we also can take this example as that there is a similarity between them. And also, we should aware that this peace agreement can be viewed as a long-game peace building over the Palestinian dispute, because we know that the Israel-Palestinian dispute will be almost impossible to tackle if there is no breakthrough step that taken by any countries or any party to solve uh, this dispute. And United Arab Emirates are believe that, and they are confident that this will be the first step to uh, to 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 projecting more about the peace building talk over this dispute. Regardless, this peace agreement might be imperfect because, as we know, that there is no guarantee that Israel will not annex West Bank again, but it is worth it is not worthy that this agreement can be beneficial facility and will be a good corridor for every country, especially those who already joined the peace agreement, to gather and more and influence the Israeli government to take the more human way to deal with the Palestinian issues. I think that's all from me. Thank you everyone for watching this video and see you in other occasion.